I wish to begin with a quotation from Dr. Gerald Campbell, author of the course materials for this course, Ministerial 130 Biblical Foundations. He writes, "The prophets of the Bible were actively involved in the political, social, and economic life of their nation. They challenged the political policies of the day and dispensed advice to the nation's rulers, whether they wanted it or not, and often paid the price for it. Prophecy and politics went together, and there was no other way to imagine it." I completely agree with this statement, and it is certainly applicable for our time period. We've read an enormous amount about climate change. We've probably seen An Inconvenient Truth by former President Al Gore. I've seen it actually 4 or 5 times. And I believe that a biologist in New Mexico has a wonderful solution to climate change. He advocates we turn the deserts green. Isaiah talks about streams bursting forth in the desert. Isaiah talks about the deserts blossoming like a rose. I believe Isaiah was actually inspired. And all of us who read the scriptures have to ask ourselves a lot of questions. And certainly one of them is to what degree does God do these things for us? And to what degree do we have to do this for ourselves? Jesus said, "Greater things than these shall you do." I'm assuming that means us who read his words and pray to him and ask for his Holy Spirit that he does give to us. And he gives us gifts of it. He gives us understanding where, frankly, some people in the world might not get this. But I read the statistic that in the early 1990s, each year, it was as if Antarctica was acting like a black hole. As soon as a cloud of moisture would go over Antarctica, it would become snow or ice and be added to Antarctica. I believe Antarctica is 5.5 million square miles. The altitude of the ice is over 2 miles high. And at that time, it was as if Lake Ontario was being frozen every year and added to Antarctica. If you saw Mr. Gore's film, you can see the ice disappearing from the north, and from the glaciers all around the world. Well, where'd it go? Well, the answer was it went to Antarctica. At that time, in the early 90s, annually 293 cubic miles of ice was being added to Antarctica. Now, Dr. James Hansen, the most profoundly objective scientist who writes on climate change that I've read anything by, he says that the last time the Earth's temperature went up by 3 degrees, world ocean levels rose by 20 meters over 400 years. And our CO2 levels in the atmosphere are a lot higher. On the other hand, he writes about the global dimming effect, which is basically the positive side to industries such as, well, depending upon coal, because as they burn coal, a lot of ash goes into the atmosphere, which has a global dimming effect, which decreases the amount of sunlight striking the earth. My point is, the biologist in New Mexico, Carl Cantrell, who advocates that we turn the deserts green as a logical response to climate change, I believe he's correct. We're talking about producing food. Turn the deserts green produces a carbon sink. It takes carbon out of the atmosphere. It puts the carbon into the plants. China has had tremendous success in turning the Gobi Desert green through planting bamboo. Bamboo trees will often grow for 5 years underground, an extensive root system to get at the water. And then when they finally surge above ground, they grow at an astonishingly rapid rate. You can practically see them grow from one day to the next. It's something like a meter in a week. It's some species, and some are even faster than that. It's incredible. So I believe that biologist Carl Cantrell has the right response to climate change. Turn the deserts green, produce food, take the 1 billion hungry people on this planet. If 1 billion hungry people spend $1,000 each on food, $1 trillion has directly combated climate change. Biologist Cantrell says most of the heat going into the atmosphere is actually coming from the deserts, far more so than from our cities. Satellite images of the Earth and infrared show that to be the case. So we could, if we turn the deserts green, we decrease the amount of heat going into the atmosphere. But better than that, if we can raise the water table in the deserts, that water does not end up on top of Holland or New Orleans or the state of Florida or the city of Beijing. So 1 billion hungry people can become the strongest, most effective force against climate change. They have that potential.